constant progression of me getting better. And that's just what I do. I never try to, digress. I just continue to progress each and every week, and I don't do a lot of talking. I just do it on the field.
Next one's from John DeSager.
How you go, Marcus? Marcus, can you just comment on the depth that you all have in the secondary? And I guess in particular, when you guys have to go to PJ and Patrick, and you don't seem to lose a step with those guys, how comforting is it to be able to have that kind of depth out of those kinds of players?
It's very comforting. We have guys that can be starting anywhere, and they come in each and every game, each and every practice, and they prepare as if they're starters, and that's how we look at it. Everybody in our secondary room is a starter, so everybody prepares like a starter, and everybody's ready to go. No matter if somebody goes down, it's next man up mentality, and that's just the type of environment, that's the type of culture we build back here. So that's a kudos to everybody who's just locked in each and every week and ready for the game plan.
Next one from Amos Morrow.
Yeah, you mentioned the depth and the next man up mentality, but is there any correlation to building that depth and the culture you guys have built in the locker room and on the organization in general?
I mean, I'm not the one who brings guys in, so it's the guys upstairs who do their due diligence and bringing guys in who buy into the coach, who buy in and respect the process, and that's what we have back here. Everybody's back here respecting the process and buying in to what we have going, and that makes it easier for us to put people in, and even if that's not the original position they're in, they just can come in and they can do their job.
Next one's from Amy Just.
Yeah, speaking of that next man up mentality, y'all were a little short-handed last week at corner, and PJ had to move back to his old position. How did you think that he played there last week?
He did a good job. He comes in each and every week and does a good job. You don't see PJ slacking off in the film room or slacking off in the practice or slacking off on practice. He does a job each and every week. He locks in. He has a lot of stuff on his plate, and he still goes and he performs. So PJ is just like I said last week. He's a Swiss Army knife. He can play corner, he can play nickel, and he can play safety. So that's just the type of guy in PJ that you love to have in your group.
And then another one of your teammates, Justin Hardy, really, before he got hurt, holding things down there on special teams. What does it mean to y'all that he was designated for return yesterday from injured reserve? It's
a great feeling to get a guy back who's very important to your team, and having Justin back is just going to add another great person to our core, special teams, defense, whatever he needs to do. That's just the type of culture they built here. Just having guys that are able to do whatever you need them to do, and it's great to have him back. It's great that he's back from being gone for a little.
All right, I think we're all set. Appreciate it, Marcus.
First question is going to be from Luke Johnson.
Hey, Mario, I'm curious. I mean, been in the NFL for a long time with a couple different teams. How hard do you think it is to maintain the success that y'all have in these last 4 years, to just kind of year in, year out, be in the hunt for like that top seed every year?
To win in this league, just to win a game is very hard. I've been on teams where we had a lot of talent, and for the most part felt like we were doing everything right, but just didn't make the playoffs, didn't win a ton of games. And you realize how hard it is to win in this league, and so when you come to a team like this, you don't take it for granted when you're able to have success. A lot of it is talent, a lot of it is culture, a lot of it is attention to detail, situational awareness. So it's just hard to win alone in this league, and especially to be a top team or a contending team every season, year in, year out. And I think it just speaks a lot to the organization.
And how different is that from like your stops with the Jets or the Browns? Like here?
Yeah, it's a big difference. I don't take anything away from those organizations. I had a good time in New York. Had a good time with the Browns. But when you come to a team like this and you see how a championship and a championship organization is established, you see how much goes in it, and you can kind of see the separation. There's a lot of pieces that go into that. It's not an easy thing to do. It's about having the right players. It's about having the right coaches. It's about the intricacies and the details, and it's a top-down thing. It's from the top to the bottom. But I think it just says a lot about the Saints organization as a whole.
Next one's from Maybe Just.
Hey, Mario, congrats, by the way. So that's what I'm going to be asking you about. How did you find out that you were the Saints' Walter Payton nominee, and what was your reaction to that?
I learned through the Saints. They told me, and it's definitely a humbling thing to happen. I don't really know if I can put it into words. To know that I'm looked at, by my organization in that manner, that they saw fit to put me there, is definitely a blessing and something that I don't take for granted. It's especially means a lot to me, especially in this year. I just think 2020 has just been a hard year for a lot of people, and something that I try to represent is just hope. Everybody that I help, everybody that I serve, it's all in light of trying to bring hope to that individual or that group or that community. And so in a time where so much is going on and so many people have had to deal with so much, I hope that they can look to me as a symbol or a representative of hope, because ultimately that's all I want to bring. I want to be able to help people find hope, and I want to be able to point them to hope. So in a year like 2020, to be selected as the Saints Man of the Year, it means a lot, and it's definitely a blessing.
Thank you.
Next one's from Amos Morrell.
Yeah, kind of going back to what you were talking about with the culture that the organization has built and the culture in the locker room. Do you see a correlation between that and the depth that you guys have been able to build, particularly this year?
Yeah, I think that it says a lot about the organization because of the pieces that they brought in. It's hard to build the type of roster that we have because there is so much parity across the league. But when you got a lot of top players at a lot of your key positions, you have a top quarterback, a top receiver, a top running back, top tackles, top defensive ends, top linebackers, top corners, top safeties. That's
top interior D lineman, you know, that's hard to do. That's hard to build, and that's I feel like that's a culmination of drafting right, understanding the right free agents to get, you know, working the system and getting the right trades, and then having the coaches to develop those guys when they get here, and building systems that they can thrive in. So it's a lot, and that is not an easy thing to do. And so I think the front office is to be commended for the type of talented roster that we have, and the players are too, to be able to go out and execute on a consistent basis.
Next one's from Stacey Davis.
Demario, kudos to you on the honor. That's really awesome. Just two questions for you. How do you prepare for a rookie quarterback that you really don't have a lot of NFL tape on in Jalen Hurts? And if I may, the second is, what impresses you most about Sean Payton's adaptability, the way he's able to, when, you know, there's no turnover basically at the quarterback position, and you guys continue to adapt, and it starts really with him.
Yeah, I think anytime you have to prepare for a different quarterback, and you don't have a lot of tape, it kind of puts you in limbo, kind of the same situation we were in when we were getting ready to play Denver. You don't know. It's kind of, you have to be ready for what you've seen them do, and you have to kind of have a little bit of planning for the unexpected. And so there is a little bit of tape on Hurts, so we're able to watch that and kind of get a feel. But at the same time, their coach is very creative. He knows how to, you know, use the different guys that he has and put them in situations where they'll be successful. So we have to be ready for that. You know, speaking about Sean, I don't think there are enough positive words that I could put of how impressed I've been with him as a head coach and as an offensive mastermind. The way he's able to foresee what's about to happen. A lot of times I lean on him, or we lean on him, you know, when we're getting ready to go against offenses, to ask, like, if he was in that situation, what would he do? You know, and like in a situation like this, what would he do in this situation? And he's able to help us kind of understand, like, what offensive coaches are thinking in those scenarios. And I think that's what allows us to have so much good success on the defensive side. But he just constantly puts us in situations to win. A lot of times coming down the stretch, he has us so elevated when it comes to situational awareness, where that puts us in the best position and gives us the highest chances of closing out close games, no matter what our opponents do, because we've already prepared for those scenarios. And so as a coach, to be able to have the foresight to prepare for those things just through, you know, his many years of experience, I think it sets us apart.
Thank you.
Next one's from Luke Johnson.
Demario, I've talked to a couple coaches these last couple of weeks that have said, you know, Dennis Allen's really like pushing all the right buttons for y'all defensively. Just curious what your kind of take is on that and the job he's done to put y'all in position to have so much success lately.
Yeah, there's another situation where I mean, there's not enough positive words that I can say about DA as far as the defensive coordinator. He has, you know, he's one of the smartest coaches I've ever been around. He has a great understanding of what the offenses are about to do, or how they're going to plan their plan of attack versus us, and has built a defense where he can make small adjustments that make a big difference week in and week out. That way that we can kind of shape shift around our strengths and what the offense is going to be able to do or going to attempt to do against us. And the entire year he's just kept us locked in on the process, and week by week we've been able to continue to get better, and I think that's what's making the adjustment for us.
Last one's in Doug in the con.
Yeah, hey, Demario, the city announced today that we thought we were going to have 15,000 fans in the Dome for the Kansas City game. It's going to be 3,000. Have you gotten used to these crowds and sort of the lack of atmosphere at NFL games this year? Would you say that affects you at all now, or you're used to it?
No, that's something you'll never get used to, especially when you play in, in the dome and know what our fan base means to us. Our fans are, not just fans, and I wouldn't even say it's not just family. Like it's a part of our DNA. Our city breathes through the Saints, and the Saints breathe through the city, and so not having our fan base and our crowd is it's tough. I understand all the protocols that have to go into place, and we're in a strange time where safety is at a premium. But we definitely can't wait till we can have our dome back rocking like we're all accustomed to.
All right, we're all set. Thank you, Demario.
Hey, thank you guys. Be blessed.
All right, you guys, you can put your questions in for Jared Cook, and we'll get going. First question's from Luke Johnson.
Hey, Jared, just compared to some of your other stops in your career, I'm just curious if there's anything that you can kind of put your finger on about this place that makes it able to sustain success like they'll have the last 4 years.
I think it starts with the organization. The organization that has all their ducks in a row, that understands where they're trying to attack in the draft and free agency as well, and understanding your needs as a team. And then I think it's locker room, having a veteran presence-driven locker room with a lot of guys that that understand that when it comes down to do your job, that you're ready and it's time to go to work. And then the players to do that job, bringing the right players in and having them in, definitely all make a difference.
So, I mean, it sounds like it's like a lot of like moving pieces that have to kind of come together.
Yeah, absolutely. And it starts at the top. When your organization has everything together at the top, the less miscommunication, the better. And then it kind of trickles its way down. But it starts up top in how they run their organization, the type of players that they have in the building, understanding what type of players would be good for their locker room. And then from there, it just kind of operates like a machine.
Next one from Amos Morale.
Yeah, kind of following up on that. When you were a free agent a couple years ago, had you heard about the culture of the organization or anything like that when you were making your decision to come here?
Yeah, I called Chris Banjo. Me and Banjo played together in Green Bay, and we had always kept in touch and remained friends. And I just called him to kind of talk to him about the culture of the locker room, the organization, the offense, Coach Payton, the different other coaches on the coaching staff, how they acted. And he was able to give me quite a bit of insight on the Saints. And just a little bit of kind of a window into the organization, so that I could have a better understanding on where I make my decision.
And I asked that because kind of asking if there's like a correlation between the depth you guys have built and that culture in the locker room and the organization.
In reference to me,
but just the team in general, like if a lot of guys, is this a place they want to come play? Is that how you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think it's a place that's on a lot of guys' list. Not only for the locker room presence but for the winning culture. That's huge, and that's a huge decision maker where guys want to go, or at least I think it should be. But yeah, Banjo was able to give me a lot of insight, and when you have a good locker room like that, it's easy for a free agent to kind of reach out to other guys on that team or that's involved on the team. to find out the information that you need. So it definitely has a direct correlation in terms of free agency and when guys are asked to come here and what they're looking into.
Next one's from Amy Jess.
Yeah, speaking of that locker room, Demario Davis was named the team's man of the year today. Just how special has it been to be in that locker room with him, just knowing all the things that he's done on and off the field?
Demario's a tremendous person. He's a good player. He's a great player, but even better person. Just a great man and with such a big heart, a love of God, and an understanding of people's attitudes and people's environments, where they come from and what they need. And I think he's been a huge vessel for what God is trying to do in many of our lives. And I think he lives it, and he's a prime example. It was COVID this off season, and Demario hit me up like, hey, you trying to get some work in? And I was like, yeah, absolutely, but my daughter's high risk. So I really couldn't. But that's just the type of dude Demario is. He's always trying to get better, always trying to improve his game. And the fact that he hit me up to get extra work, I really saw respect from him and the respect that he understands what type of player I am. So Demario is a tremendous human being and deserves it. Deserves every bit of it.
Next one's from Stacey Bales.
Hey Jared, I'm just curious, what impresses you most about Sean Payton's adaptability? You go 5-0 with Teddy last year, you've gone 3-0 with Taysom. The offense might change a little bit, but he adapts around the quarterback, and you guys, like, there's no drop-off. What impresses you about that with him?
One thing about Coach P, man, is he knows the game in and out, and he's going to study it, man. That's one thing I love about being here is, you know, going into the game on Sunday, you're going to be as prepared as possible, and you're going to understand everything you're about to see going into the game, and he's going to make sure of it. Another thing I love about Coach P is that he makes sure it gets sometimes it gets us into a bit of trouble, but he makes sure that when he calls a play in a certain situation that he's going to get to the right play. And, you know, it may take him a little while on the sideline to get that play in there, but you know for sure that when that play is coming in, it's going to try to gash the defense as best as possible. He studies film like no other, and he'll be up here all night just trying to figure out defenses and figure out plays to ensure that we have the right plays on offense on Sunday. And I think he does a great job of preparing his quarterbacks for that, understanding the situations that they're going to get, and when they're in those situations, if it's a bad one, how to get out of it, but if it's a good one, how to understand what we're trying to do to run the play and how we're trying to move the ball. So preparation is tremendous, game planning is tremendous, and they really set the bar and go above and beyond on that.
Next one's from Rob Walker.
Hey Jared, I know this is your first year playing with Malcolm, but Malcolm Jenkins, I know he's a guy that, you know, everybody in the league knew stuff about. But why is he so respected around the league? And you know, he's getting a chance to go home this weekend, and they're looking forward to seeing him. But why is he so respected around the league?
I just, you know, he's another guy like Demario. A little bit more quiet and a little bit more subtle in his approach, but still a great man and a great leader in terms of what locker room goes. And I just think he's a real world person. He looks at the world for what it is and understands what the world's given to him, and he makes those adjustments out of it to, you know, help himself, people like him and others. Going on this journey in the NFL, I've learned that one of the hardest things to do is fight for the people that may look like you, and you know, let me go back. One of the hardest parts of an activist is fighting for people that look like you, without those same certain people that look like you giving you the respect for that, or not necessarily understanding your place or where you're trying to get them in life. You're trying to make them better and make them grow and be better in life. And I think that's one thing that's very respectable about Malcolm is he's trying to get players like himself and players like me and players that look like him to a better place in life, a better place of understanding, a better place of growth. And in terms that's uplifting the culture as a whole and also the culture of colored people in general. And that's one thing that's so is so respectable about him is that he's always going to pursue that, and he's never backed down from that at all. He's always been a strong voice for us in this league with things on the field and off the field and also in the world in terms of injustice. And I think that's something that's incredibly hard to do and something that's super respectable.
We're all set. Thanks so much, Jared.
Yep.
Hey, we're gonna set up.
JD, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, absolutely. Alvin, how you doing?
Oh, good.
Alvin, Coach Payton was telling us yesterday about the conversation you guys were having field at halftime, and you kind of suggested a specific run that you might be in favor of in the second half. What did you see on the previous play that bounced you off of that? And is that something that occurs between you and he fairly often, or somewhat often? Or how often does that occur?
Yeah, so I called the play, but no, man, I just I'm always in tune, and I mean that's something I've been doing since I got here. Just try to stay in tune. Like even with Drew, I ask him what he's seeing during the game, and I ask everybody what they're seeing. I even ask Jameis like what he's seeing, because it's people like I don't have any ego in this. It's people that know more than me, but as long as I can kind of stay in their pocket, like I feel like I know a lot. So that look on that keeper play, it was a design keep. So obviously Taysom faked the ball to me, and I saw the whole part. And with that motion, nobody was really worried about that backside. And I'm like, man. So when Sean asked me what plays I'm like, man, let's run that same motion. Let's go torch ride 15. Week 15 week F. Instead of the keeper. So he dialed it up. I mean, at the right time, we got back down in that same kind of area, and it scored. And I was coming off. And he like, you called that play. I'm like, yeah, you damn right. But it's cool because Sean, he's not. He doesn't really have an ego. If it's an idea that somebody has that he thinks could work, he listens. So.
Next question, Andy Jeff.
Yeah, a follow-up on that. Just how validating was that he not only, put that play in for you, but you scored on it too?
Oh, I know he was going to score. That's why I told him. But, I mean, it's dope because, I mean, it's cool for me because it kind of, like, backs up what I see. And I'm like, okay, I know I'm not tripping. I see this look. Like, and then when I tell him and then he calls it and then we score, it's like, okay, I might got some money in the bank now. I might be able to call a couple plays in the game.
Amos Morale?
Yeah, I was the offensive line, pretty much the whole team has dealt with injuries, and the depth has, really come through for you guys. I was wondering if you think there's a correlation between the depth you guys have built and the culture of the locker room and just the organization in general.
I think it's the culture of our organization. And I was talking to somebody about this the other day, like, everybody in our locker room has a role, and I think that it shows, every Sunday, even like we talking about injuries and, just things happening. I think we're more equipped than any other organization that I see to be able to withstand some of these bumps and bruises and this adversity. I haven't been anywhere else, but I mean, from talking to other people that have been multiple places, they're like, man, y'all a well-oiled machine, and it's the best run organization that I've seen, and this, that. But I mean, I think we all know we got a great coach and a great locker room, great front office, great, everything here. So we just want to play for each other. Everybody has a job to do. Everybody has a role. So somebody goes down, is next up.
Jeff Duncan.
Hey, Alvin, Coach Payton told us the story the other day about your private workout when you were at Tennessee and what an impression that made on the organization. What are your memories of that day?
That day, I was not planning on working out, and I was very adamant about not working out. So we that morning, we met up at the facility, went in the film room, knocked that out, and I'm going downstairs, and I think a couple of my teammates were, they were working out, and I was going into the weight room actually to lift, like, because I had still been training and doing stuff, just trying to stay ready. And Jeff Ireland comes up to me, and he's like, yeah, well, Sean wants to see you work out and whatever, and I'm like, well, at this point, I don't know who Sean. I mean, I know who Sean Payton is, but I don't know him personally. So I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm not trying to work out. I'm good. So then Sean's like, no, I want to see you work out, and I'm like, shit, man. All right. So I go run in the equipment room real quick. Ask my equipment manager Hawk to. I'm like, man, let me get some cleats and some gloves real quick, man. The Saints. At this point, I don't care. I'm like, the Saints want to see me work out. I don't know why. It's, Hawk, man. I'm trying to just get to the draft as quick as I can. So he give me some cleats and gloves. I go out there. I don't even stretch. He's like, I want you to run this. He was explaining stuff. I'm like, come on, man. I got this. Like, come on. What you want? I want you to run an arrow. I want you to run a shallow cross, but I want to see you catch it with my hands. Yeah, okay, I got you. Whatever. Get through it. And he's like, all right, good, thanks. And I'm like, man, I just worked out for these dudes. I told myself I wasn't working out, and I worked out, and then obviously I end up getting drafted here. So I guess that's the difference. I mean, if I didn't work out, I might not be here.
Well, I was going to say, Coach said that he left that meeting wanting to target you in the draft. Did you have a good feeling about it at all, or were you still?
I was mad that I worked out. I don't know. I was mad from working out, so I didn't even think anything of it. So when I got drafted, when it was like, okay, New Orleans Saints select me, I'm like, oh dang. So then I'm putting it together. I'm like, okay, well that was probably the best decision to go ahead and work out.
Thanks.
No, I just wanted to ask you to just tell stories, but Traquan Smith, I feel like every time I'm watching one of your big runs, he's making a big block downfield. I think he had a really big one on your touchdown run.
Mm-hmm.
How important is that to what y'all do, and just how much do you appreciate that as his teammate?
Man, like, appreciate it to the utmost, you know. Trey, like, he don't really say too much, you know. He like, that job is unglorified, like, you know, a receiver block that's able to block well, you know, because he's in there, he has to, not only does he have to play receiver, catch the ball, and, you know, run down the field, come back and do it again. He might not get the ball, but we're running inside zone, and he got to go crack the end, or he got to go black a linebacker, and he's doing it, not only doing it, but doing it well and consistently, you know. And that's somebody we lean on in our offense to be able to get the job done. And he does it, he don't complain, and, you know, I mean, it's like, I think, it eases my mind to look and know Traquan is right there, and he's gonna be able to get a block, and he's gonna get the job done. Like, I'm not even worried about, you know, him. When I look out there and see him, I know it's good. So, you know, he might not get enough credit for it, but he knows he's appreciated.
Amy, Jeff?
Yeah, DeMario was named your team's nominee for Man of the Year. Just how special has he been, not only just in the locker room as a leader on the field, and then doing all of the things that he's done off the field too?
Man, I mean, when I talk about guys, like, just talking about DeMario, like, not even, I exclude the football field. We know all the things he does on the football field. I'm talking about off the field. I mean, dude is a family man, great father, just a man. Like he says, he's a nominee for Man of the Year. I mean, he practices what he preaches day in and day out. Somebody you can talk to, count on to you know, give you some guidance, man, and just give you some pointers in life. You know, I'm leaving out the football, like I said. He's just great person to talk to, outstanding individual. And he deserves that for sure. And I mean, I know it's times I've talked to him about, you know, a plethora of things, and, you know, his insight and his standpoint on certain issues and topics is very interesting. And I mean, it's somebody that is like the definition of a role model for sure.
And last question from Rod Walker. Hey, Alvin, it almost feels unfair to ask you about these two guys back to back, but can you tell me your best Malcolm Jenkins story, or what just kind of stands out about him?
Man, Malcolm, an interesting dude, man. It's funny because right before I came over here doing media, we was just talking. Me and somebody were just talking about Malcolm, but I mean, he kind of like the same type of guy like DeMario, you know. But he a little bit different in that his stances are so strong, and, you know, like, he has such a strong personality and strong ideals and strong viewpoints, and, you know, it may be off-putting to some people, but he's so comfortable in navigating, you know, the space that he's in, and he's comfortable with himself, and, you know, he doesn't bite his tongue, and, you know, that's something I admire, because that's kind of like how I view myself. I don't really, you know, it is what it is. Like, either you like it or you don't. So, I mean, it's something to admire about that, because you have to definitely be, you know, at one with yourself. But DeMario, again, very respected. Malcolm, very respected. I think, man, just he's making a difference off the field. Like I said, I'm not even talking about the football player, Malcolm. I'm talking about the person, the man. And I mean, he's definitely a stand-up man.
All right, thanks, Alvin. Appreciate your time, man.
For sure.
Okay, you mind if I